right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kaplan Center. It is a frigid Saturday afternoon, and we are about ready for some Skyline Conference action between your Mount St. Mary Knights and the visiting Panthers of SUNY Old Westbury. Ladies and gentlemen, this matchup today, these are two teams with something to prove. The Knights come into today still searching for their first conference win. The Knights currently sit in the cellar at 0-9 as Connor Gemmel wins the tip-off. That ball goes to Brendan Graham. And as for SUNY Old Westbury, they're currently at 3-6, good for fifth place of 6 teams in the Skyline Conference Black Division. For the home side, Matthew Walsh is out there with Justin Rivera, J.P. Egan, Brendan Graham, and Connor Gemmel. And as for the visitors, it's Jermaine King Jr., as that's Connor Gemmel from the corner for 3, and that's how we get started this afternoon. Now as for Old Westbury, Jermaine King Jr. is out there with Joel Ofori, Christian Thomas, Imole Akinwale, and Yajit Balta. The ball goes up top. Now it's King Jr. Works inside, stops it around the elbow, kicks it outside to Akinwale. Into the corner for Balta. He'll go underneath now for Ofori. Right underneath for Balta on the cut, gets it to go. The Ankara turkey product goes off the glass, and the Panthers are on the board. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now well underway. Rivera now passes it up ahead, out past half court. It's Matt Walsh. Walsh now stops, got it to Gemmel in the far corner. Thought about putting it on the ground, gets it back up top for J.P. Egan, leaves it now for Brendan Graham. Stops it around the free throw line. Kicks it outside the perimeter. Matthew Walsh got hands on it, could not quite corral it, and it will go out of play. Turnover, first turnover for either side, comes with just over a minute into regulation. The inbound, it now goes to Jermaine King Jr. He's out past half court, and the Panthers will look to take their first lead of the night. Matthew Walsh there on the perimeter. The ball kicked out to Akinwale. Akinwale thought about putting it on the ground, got it to Ofori. Ofori across for Thomas. Now it's King right around the baseline, kicks it into the corner, shot fake Akinwale, fires away. That one over everything. Right there underneath is Christian Thomas, gets it up, left that one short. That ball changes hands a couple of times before finally being brought out of the air by Matthew Walsh. Walsh now leads the charge in the opposite direction, leaves it for Graham. Now the ball goes up top. J.P. Egan, he'll try a 3. That one is good. J.P. Egan, the triple. A consistent score on this Mount St. Mary team in conference play. He's currently second on the team with 9 points per game. As now it is Jermaine King, the leading scorer for this Old Westbury offense, at 15.1 points a contest. The ball now goes towards the elbow. Christian Thomas was there, had that one stripped away. Now Matthew Walsh leading the charge the opposite direction, runs into Jermaine King. It will be a foul on the Old Westbury freshman. This one, I believe, will be a foul on the floor. And they will know, the referees will say, no, this is a foul in the act of shooting. And so Matthew Walsh will head to the free throw line. The first trip to the charity stripe now for either side tonight. Matthew Walsh this season has started and played in all 19 games so far for Mount St. Mary as the first one goes down, shooting a respectable 64% from the free throw line this season. Mount St. Mary comes into this one still winless in conference play, losers of 15 straight. So Mount St. Mary now at this point in the season just looking to get back into the win column by any means necessary as the ball swung across the floor now for Jermaine King as we have a whistle on the floor, likely an issue with what I believe is the shot clock. As I'm trying to pick up some of the jargon from the floor. So the stoppage on the floor has nothing to do with the actual game. I believe it was, in fact, the shot clock. Now the men at the scores table trying to get that right. I believe everything is as it needs to be, everything in its right place, as Radiohead would put it. And now it's swung to Thomas, now goes to King, back up top for Akinwale, back up top for King. Matthew Walsh there on the perimeter, the ball goes right there to Ofori. Ofori into the corner now for Akinwale. Now it's Jermaine King. Ofori into the corner. Akinwale, good look for 3. Egan on the closeout. Akinwale can't hit as we have a whistle and I believe a foul on the ground. This one going against Matthew Walsh. Referee down low with an emphatic shoving motion. And so now the inbounder, Christian Thomas, 6'4" freshman from North Baldwin, New York. Thomas on the inbound, goes over the top, tried to get it to Balta. That one taken away by Egan. Nice defense there. Mount St. Mary now looks to turn it into points. Three-pointer in transition from Brendan Graham, won't go. Getting a hand on it is Rivera. Mount St. Mary stays alive. Underneath for Egan. Goes up and over, got it to go. J.P. Egan beats the 2-on-1 underneath. Mount St. Mary now up 8. King's pass up ahead, almost picked off again by Egan. Bringing that one down is Ofori. Now the ball goes back up top for King. He'll kick it right at the block for Balta. Now it is Ofori from right in front of the free throw line. Easy 2 points there for the 6'5 sophomore. The Panthers now in a full court press, looking just to keep Mount St. Mary out of the scorers column right now. 10-4 your lead for the home side. Revere now up ahead, stops, kicks it to the perimeter. Into the corner now. Walsh will try a three-pointer. That one won't go. Off the back iron. Balta brings that one out of the air. Tried to pass it to King along the sideline. A little miscommunication. And it will go out of play. And so the buzzer sounds. We have our first set of substitutions now for either side. Rob Giramino and Liam Lynch, the first guys off the bench for Coach Kadlubowski's Mount St. Mary Knights team. And now Justin Rivera on the inbound. Looks for any open man. Will have a bounce pass for Egan on the wing closest to your screen. Now Rivera uses his right, cuts across the floor. Quickly double team. Rivera has to get rid of it. Gives it to Giramino. Fires away. No good. Rebounded by Christian Thomas. Thomas will kick it up ahead for King. The Panthers looking to catch the Knights in transition. Up ahead, it's Ofori right underneath the basket. Gets 2 points working against Rob Giramino. So after a 10-2 start to the contest for Mount St. Mary, Old Westbury has scored the last 4. As they slowly work their way back into the contest, we are only around 4 minutes in, 16:08, as we have a whistle and a stoppage, as the ball was out of play along the far sideline. So now Liam Lynch, the inbounder, kicks it to Rivera. Rivera has yet to put it on the ground, double teamed in the corner. Ofori and King both there. Now Egan stops, mid-range jump shot is good. JP Egan pulls up from mid. Again, I say it every broadcast, the mid-range jump shot, truly a lost art in the game of modern basketball. Either way, Egan doing his part to bring it back. As now King goes up and over the top. Ofori puts the ball on the ground, stops, spins, fades away, can't get it to go. Rebounded by Thomas. He'll go back up with it, got it to go. Old Westbury's second chance points, and the lead cut back down to 4. Rivera now will leave it for Walsh. Walsh back across the floor for Rivera, now up ahead for Egan. Back across for Rivera. Now puts it on the ground, goes right at King, stops it around the free throw line, bounces back out of the perimeter, gives it back to Egan. Egan on a bounce, got it to Walsh on the far side of your screen. Ball back up top for Giramino. Shot fake, got Ofori to bite. Now goes underneath, got it to Egan. That one just right through the hands of the Mount St. Mary senior as Daniel Hersner and Matt Monaco check in. Another duo of substitutions for Coach Kadlubowski. Egan was open underneath. Mount St. Mary so far has done a good job of spreading the ball around. No notes on offense, at least for now, as the ball goes into King. Hersner right there. He switches back on to Akinwale. The ball goes back to King, and now Mount St. Mary backs off. Old Westbury now setting up the half-court offense. The ball swung now to Akinwale, back up top for Ofori, across the floor for King. Liam Lynch right there for defense on Mount St. Mary. Tried to get it to Thomas. That one taken away by Rivera. Rivera will go right at King. No foul. Can't get it to go. Right there on the rebound is Hersner. That one left short off the back iron. Takes a couple of bounces. It will go out of play and stick with the home side. So Mount St. Mary, a couple of missed opportunities right under the hoop as Anthony Marziotti comes in for the home team. So the Knights, a couple of missed opportunities right under the basket. But fortunately for them, the ball went out of play, last touched by a Panther. And so the Knights will get to try again. Fresh 20 on the shot clock. Anthony Marziotti, fresh into the game, will be the inbounder. As he'll have to get it over Christian Thomas. Ball goes up top for Monaco on the wing, closest to your screen. Marziotti puts it on the ground, uses his right, kicks it up top for Monaco, who was looking to swing it to Lynch. He can't pick it back up. Now it is Hersner from Mount St. Mary. Ball goes back to Lynch. Catch and shoot 3. That one too strong. Rebound King. King now looking to push the offense for Old Westbury. Stops, bounces back outside the perimeter. He'll give it for Thomas. Across the floor for Akinwale. Got Monaco to jump. Akinwale back up top. Fires a 3. That one won't go. Giramino got a hand on it. As Eugene Balta fires from downtown, couldn't connect on that one. Daniel Hersner now stretching the floor from Mount St. Mary. Crosses over, puts the moves on Balta. Tried to get it underneath. Good defense there from Akinwale. Ball goes up top for Balta. He'll leave it for Thomas. Thomas will go right at Marziotti. Somehow no foul. This one will go out of play. They'll say Marziotti got a block. But excellent defense there from the Mount St. Mary first year. And now it'll be Old Westbury with an inbound play right under the hoop. Jermaine King Jr., the inbounder. Kicks it up top, all the way up top. It's Joel Ofori making a nice play to bring that one out of the air. Now stops, kicks it into the corner. Catch and shoot for Akinwale. Fires and hits. Amole Akinwale, the triple, and now Old Westbury down 1. the closest the deficit has been all game. Granted, we are only just over 6 minutes into the contest. Lynch will try a three-pointer. He got it. So Mount St. Mary counters with a three-pointer of their own, and the Knights go back up 4. The ball goes back up top for Jermaine King Jr. Daniel Hersner will pick him up on defense. The ball kicked to Akinwale. Now it is Ofori from around the elbow. Takes a couple of bounces, won't go. Rebounded by Hersner. Hersner, the ball carrier, now stops it right around the perimeter. Now fires a three. That one left short off the front rim. Jermaine King will wisely let this one go out of play. As now it will be Amole Akinwale doing the inbounding on the far sideline, just in front of the Mount St. Mary bleachers. The inbound goes to King, just now puts a hand on it. The clock starts to run as Brendan Graham returns to the scorer's table. Now King will leave it for Akinwale, back to King. King will go across the floor for Thomas. Liam Lynch playing suffocating defense. Balta fakes a screen. Now the ball does go to Balta, has a little bit of trouble with it. Leaves it back for Thomas. Thomas now got it to King, into the corner, it's Akinwale. Spins, goes right at Jeremino, the mid-range jump shot over everything. Lynch got a hand on it, couldn't bring it out of the air. Now Ofori gets it to go. Physical basketball from Joel Ofori, 6'5", using every inch of that frame to get to the basket there. The lead cut down to 2. Lynch's pass to Marziati now goes up ahead on the correct side of half court. Jeremino left it for Lynch, who now gets it to Hersner. Hersner runs the baseline. There will be a foul, this one against Balta. It looks like Hersner may have slipped, and now he looks shaken up. So Hersner will limp off the floor. We hope he's okay, as Graham, Gemmel, and Walsh have all checked back in for the home side. Coming in for Old Westbury for the first time today, number 10, Latimer Taylor Jr. And so Hersner exits again. We hope he's okay. Substitutions for both sides. If you're just now joining us, ladies and gentlemen, your score at the moment, Mount St. Mary 15, Old Westbury 13, with 12:33 left to go in this first half. As now, there is a whistle, and play has not resumed since Hersner got hurt. What the holdup is, I am not sure. And so, ladies and gentlemen, while the referees talk this out, maybe they're planning a candlelit dinner, who knows. But so, ladies and gentlemen, while the referees take a brief step aside, the buzzer completely ruined my cutaway, so we can't cut to commercial anymore. 1, because there's no commercials to cut to, and 2, the game is about to go back on. And so, a whole lot of nonsense from the broadcast booth. Thankfully, game action appears ready to resume. Brendan Graham along the baseline, right underneath the basket. Again, 12:33 left to play in this first half. The whistle is blown, and thankfully, ladies and gentlemen, basketball play is resumed. Gemmel gets a good look for 3. That one left short off the front rim. Couldn't cash in there. Nicely done by Matt Monaco on the offensive glass. Goes right underneath for Gemmel. High off the glass. Beautiful second chance basket for Mount St. Mary. And the home side back up 2 possessions. The ball goes back to Akinwale. Gives it back to Jermaine King. Matthew Walsh guarding him. King crosses over. Uses his left. Now switches back to his left. Sorry. It's Thomas for Akinwale. Back up top for Thomas. Now back for King. King ball fake. Puts it on the ground. Now Thomas fires a 3. Good look. He got it. Christian Thomas, the triple, and Old Westbury cuts the deficit back down to 1. The Panthers have been in it the whole way, but they are still looking for their first lead of the night as Marziati was looking for Gemmel. Looks like the 2 parties were on different pages there. This one will go out of play right in front of the Panther bench, and now it is Old West with the ball and a chance to take the lead. Thomas, the inbounder, gets it on 1 bounce to King. King now past half court. Matthew Walsh waiting for him. King using his right. Crosses over now with his left. Swings it across the floor for Akinwale. Akinwale back up top for King. King directing a little bit of traffic. Thomas telling Taylor to clear out. Setting a screen is Ofori. Thomas will kick it to King. Shot fake from King. Back up top for Thomas. He'll try it again. That one is good. Christian Thomas back-to-back triples, and Old West in front for the first time this afternoon. Your score now 19-17 in favor of the men in green. Matthew Walsh quickly trapped. Thomas and Akinwale both there. Now he falls on the loose ball, forced to get rid of it to Monaco, who's facing a triple team. Now Walsh kicked it in the corner for Gemmel. Walsh now right at the basket, got it to go. Mount St. Mary, excellent job to maintain their composure and beat the press. A big basket there from the Mount St. Mary senior, and we're all tied up at 19. Jermaine King now crosses over to his left. He'll try a three-pointer. That one rims in and out. Thomas got a hand on it but could not bring it down. Old Westbury had hit 2 3-pointers on each of the last 2 possessions. King with the heat check. That one won't go as Marziotti tried to get it to Monaco under the basket. That one won't go as Caleb Eller comes in for the first time tonight. J.P. Egan will also return to the court. So Anthony Marziotti, an excellent passer, just tries to fit passes sometimes into too tight of windows. Him and Gemmel suffered a miscommunication, and that pass to Monaco under the basket was not the greatest of looks. Is now with 10.5 to go in this first half. Old Westbury looks to retake the lead. Jermaine King kicks it across the floor, got it to Akinwale. Caleb Eller playing good defense there for the home side. Now crossing over is Akinwale, kicked into the corner is King. He thought about it, now steps back. It's Akinwale in the corner again. Now he goes right inside, up and over Gemmel. And Connor Gemmel, of course, the Mount St. Mary big man standing at 6'8". No easy task for the 6'1" Amole Akinwale. But the Panther guard, unblinking in the face of pressure. Old Westbury back up 2. Now Gemmel kicks it into the corner. Walsh sets his feet, fires a 3. That one won't go. Gemmel grabs the rebound, back up top for Walsh. Now Eller will try a 3. That one won't go. Left short. Rebounded by Taylor. Taylor will give it for King. Egan right there from Mount St. Mary. Now he'll back off. King does a little dance, stops it around the perimeter. Now Taylor will try a 3-pointer in transition. That one won't go. Akinwale nicely done in the corner to keep that one in play. Ball goes back up top for King. Now it's a 4. Back up top for King. Ball fake. King yet to put it on the ground. Now it's a 4. A 4 right underneath goes for Thomas, who goes right at Gemmel. That shot blocked. Thomas got it back and then had that one poked away. So it will be out of play, last touched by a Knight, but Mount St. Mary, the interior defense, looks quite good through the first half of this first half. As Justin Rivera comes back in, he'll come on for Brendan Graham. An inbound play under the basket. It'll be Latimer Taylor Jr. doing the honors for the visiting side. As now Taylor goes up top. Akinwale nicely done, making that catch over Walsh into the corner. Catch and shoot from Thomas. Now shot fake, goes right at the basket. Got it to go, beating the shot clock. Christian Thomas wanted a foul. He leads all scorers so far with 8. As now it's Rivera into the corner. Gemmel catch and shoot, fires a 3. That one rims in and out. Thomas grabs the rebound. Egan right there. Now he'll back off. The ball goes up ahead for King. King it around the perimeter, goes right at Eller. Now bounces out, stops it around the elbow. Now it's Thomas, a 3-pointer. That one too strong. Rebound Justin Rivera. Rivera grabs the rebound, slows down the offense a little bit. He's now on the correct side of half court. No press from the Panthers. The ball goes to Eller. He's guarded by Akinwale. Eller gets rid of it, gives it to Walsh. Walsh into the corner for Egan. All day to shoot. Fires too strong. Rebounded by Taylor. There's a whistle and a foul. Rivera ended up on the ground at the far block. This one goes against Jermaine King. And so it will be a foul on the floor. So Mount St. Mary will not get a trip to the stripe, but they will get to keep the ball. It'll be an inbound play right underneath the basket. As coming in for the first time today for Old Westbury, number 23, Josh Minton. The California accent, ladies and gentlemen, you can't pronounce your T's. Very real thing. As now it is Gemmel from around the elbow. Got it to Eller. Eller, happy feet, as they will say. No happy feet, of course. I thought that looked clean. So the turnover, is on Connor Gemmel. It is a foul on the offense, not a travel on Eller, my mistake. And so this one will be out of play, as now it is Hersner and Lynch back in for the home side. And the inbound goes to Akinwale. Akinwale gets past Hersner. Hersner now gets back in front. Akinwale back past half court. Well outside the perimeter, now kicks it for Minton, back to Akinwale. Akinwale now across the floor for Taylor, back to Akinwale, back to Taylor. So now it is Taylor going right at Rivera. He runs the baseline, forced to pick up his dribble, does a pivot around the block. Gemmel right there, got a hand on the pass, Karam straight up. He grabs his own steal, and now Mount St. Mary will look to turn some defense into offense. The Knights down 4. Now it's Rivera, stops in the middle of the paint. He slid a little bit, the referee on the sideline right on it, as we have a whistle and a travel. As now Coach Kad Lebowski will take a timeout, the first timeout taken by either side. And so, ladies and gentlemen, 7:58 left to go in this first half. Your score, Old Westbury 23, Mount St. Mary 19. As always, I am Lucas Stackpole, and we will be right back right after this. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Kaplan Center as Kid Cudi ushers us in from the timeout. If you're just now joining us, your score up to this point with 7:58 to go in this first half. Old Westbury leads Mount St. Mary by a score of 23-19. Has been a close contest all game, and I don't see any indication that it won't be throughout the duration of this one as Akinwale into the corner. Got it to Thomas. Thomas now gives it to Ofori on the cut. Ofori now puts it on the ground, kicks it back outside the perimeter. Catch and shoot Akinwale. That one won't go. Egan grabs that one out of the air, leaves it now with Hersner. Hersner on the correct side of half court. Ball goes back up top for Egan. Egan now leaves it for Rivera. Rivera does a dance around the perimeter, gets it to Egan, who now gets it to Lynch. Lynch on the side of the perimeter, closest to your screen. Now it is Gemmel from around the elbow, bounces back out, left it for Hersner. 10 left on the 30. Hersner forced to pick up his dribble, got it to Egan. Mid-range jump shot is good. J.P. Egan, a good look from the baseline. You can count it, and the lead back down to 2. Akinwale past half court, kicks it across the floor now for Minton. Minton back off for Akinwale. Akinwale goes into the corner. It's Christian Thomas. Thomas takes a couple of steps back outside for Minton. Minton tried to get it underneath for Ofori. Ofori was smothered. Looks like he may want a foul. That's a whistle that he won't get. Now Rivera past half court, waiting for him, Christian Thomas. Gemmel ready to set a screen. Now it is Egan setting the screen. Rivera puts it on the ground. Left it for Egan. Right there is Christian Thomas. Egan will leave it for Hersner. Egan sets a screen. Hersner bounces back outside the perimeter, looks for any open man. Under 10 on the shot clock. Now it is Lynch. Lynch working on Akinwale. Mount St. Mary has to get a shot off, as now it's Rivera outside the perimeter. He gets a shot off barely, and the referees will say no, he didn't get it off. Kadlubowski can't believe it. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Kadlubowski always famously animated, but I do think he has a case here. It did look like Rivera got it off. Excellent defense there either way from Old Westbury to, on the floor, force a shot clock violation, and at the very least, force a terrible shot. As now Minton got it to Thomas. Hersner steps up. Thomas will swing it across the floor for Akinwale. Back to Thomas. Now into the corner, it's Minton. He'll fire a three. That one is good. Wide open look for Josh Minton. He did not disappoint. Minton has appeared in 14 of what is now 20 games for the Panthers. Now Lynch working against the double team. Left it for Graham. Graham across the floor now for Egan. Egan underneath for Jeremino. Jeremino back up top for Graham. Puts it on the ground. Uses his right. Spins it around the elbow. Has to get rid of it. Now got it to Jeremino. Again, under 10 on the 30. Jeremino for Graham. Graham steps to the side. Fires away, and I can, for all intents and purposes, ladies and gentlemen, we'll call that a pass. As Graham goes across the floor with 5 seconds left, right there like a wide receiver, like a punt returner waiting for a fair catch was Daniel Hersner. He'll put it in for 2 points. Now Mount St. Mary on the takeaway, look to push the opposite direction. Good defense there from Old West to cut off that possession at the root, as now we have a timeout, the first coming from the Old Westbury sideline. Coach Bernard Tomlin takes a timeout. And so, with 5:23 left to go in this first half, your score now, the SUNY Old Westbury Panthers 26, the Mount St. Mary College Knights 23. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back right after this. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are back from that brief timeout. Your score, Old Westbury 26, Mount St. Mary 23. Welcome back to the Kaplan Center. As always, I am Lucas Stackpole. Counting down from 5:20 as Lynch got it to Jeremino. Jeremino with a shot fake, now cuts inside, goes right at the block. Can't get it to go. Took a hard foul. I'm surprised he managed to get that off at all. Nicely done from Rob Jeremino to cut inside and to get a shot off. Good work there to draw the foul. As there's an Old Westbury Panther at the scorer's table waiting to check in. Jeremino at the free throw line for the first time tonight. Geronimo has appeared now in all 19 games this season for Mount St. Mary. Usually the first guy off the bench will start occasionally, as coming in for the first time today is Stefan Kawasi. As now Geronimo will look to salvage the strip at the free throw line. He got the second. Geronimo this season, a respectable 75% from the stripe. Is now Thomas on the bounce, got it to Akinwale. Akinwale crosses over on Hersner. Now it is Mitten back up top for Akinwale. Akinwale tells Mitten to clear out. Akinwale puts the moves on, now leaves it for Mitten. Graham right there on help defense for Mount St. Mary. Mitten from mid-range and the foul. The tough bucket there from Josh Mitten. Nicely done. And he'll look to complete this highlight reel three-point play. Josh Minton this season. Actually, no, I'm not going to finish that thought, because if he misses, I do not want to be held accountable for that. And so now, knock on wood, Josh Mitten 1,000% at the free throw line this season, just 2 for 2. And now it is Lynch past half court. Bounce pass right at Geronimo, bounces off of Kawasi, fresh into the game. Left that one a little bit short. Now a scramble for the ball in the key. Hersner there for the home side. This is a jump ball, and the possession arrow favors the Knights this time around. So Thomas on the inbound. He'll get it to Minton. Hersner, Lynch, and Graham all on the immediate side of half court. Now everybody sort of phases out. It is Akinwale up top, goes right underneath for Thomas. Mount St. Mary nicely done. A quick double team at the block. Thomas forced to kick it back out. Now catch and shoot three. That one over everything. Caught right underneath the basket by Thomas. Muscles his way inside and gets it to go. Old Westbury, a physical brand of basketball, and so far it has worked to perfection. Another chance for a three-point play. This time it is Christian Thomas. Thomas leads all scorers now with 12. He has a chance for a three-point play of his own. Thomas this season, 17 of 24 from the stripe, coming into today. Got it. So 3-point plays on back-to-back possessions for Old Westbury. The lead now for the Panthers up to 8, their largest lead of the afternoon. As Walsh gets past half court, dances inside the perimeter, quickly bounces back out, got it to Egan. Egan on the ground using his right, back up top for Gemmel. Gemmel kicks it towards the wing, got it for Rivera, steps back, fires. That one no good. Egan flying in to get a hand on it. The referees will say he stepped out of bounds before he could keep it alive. And so we have a turnover. It'll be Old Westbury ball. Mitten now leaves it back for Akinwale, waiting for him, Matthew Walsh. Akinwale past half court. Now it's got it to the elbow for Kawasi. Kawasi has that one poke checked. Now somehow manages to keep the ball. And the referees will say this is a foul. I believe this one is on the floor. It will be. This one going against Gemmel. As Rob Geronimo checks back in, the buzzer sounds, Gemmel will come out. And so Mount St. Mary now at 5 team fouls, 3:45 left to go in this first half. I believe one more will put Old Westbury in the bonus. Then in a game that the Panthers have dominated these last couple minutes, the last thing you want to do is make it easier for them to score. As Akinwale will leave it for Thomas. Thomas into the corner for Mitten. Over Egan, he got it. Another tough shot from Josh Mitten, and everything going right for Old Westbury here now. The lead up to 11, the first double-digit lead of the game for either side. Egan will leave it for Rivera. Rivera around the three-point line. Shot fake Geronimo on the ground between the legs. Now kicks it for Walsh. Geronimo will set a screen. Now cut. Walsh tried to get it to Egan. Now ball loose. Now it's Thomas. Picks it up. The easiest 2 points of Christian Thomas's collegiate career. As now there is a whistle on the floor. So the whistle on the floor, the basket counts. The whistle now I have deciphered is for a timeout. Coach Kadlabowski wisely burns one. And so, ladies and gentlemen, 3 minutes, 6 seconds remain in this first half. Your score, Old Westbury 37, Mount St. Mary 24. We will be right back right after this. And so, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Kaplan Center. As always, I am Lucas Stackpole. Your score as it stands, Old Westbury 37, Mount St. Mary 24. It'll be Knights ball underneath the basket. They'll have to go the length of the court. Old Westbury has dominated these last few minutes. The team, it was a back-and-forth game for 75% of this first quarter, and then Old Westbury just, again, in recent minutes, everything has gone right and everything has gone in, which is exactly what you need to win a basketball game. The Panthers have put themselves in a solid position as Akinwale got a hand in there and manages to throw that one off of Rivera. I think the referee initially pointed in the direction of Old Westbury. That one quickly wiped off the board, it would appear. And so Amole Akinwale, excellent defense, but it will be Mount St. Mary retaining possession. And so now Walsh steps inside the perimeter. He'll leave it for Jeremino. Catch and shoot. Fires away over Kawasi. The high-arcing three-pointer won't go. Justin Rivera grabs the offensive rebound. Rivera picks up his dribble. Now Egan fires a three. That one is good. The referee will say this one is a long two-pointer. So Egan, again, just continues to be excellent from mid-range. As now Minton leaves it for Thomas. Thomas for Akinwale. Akinwale on the ground will kick it across the floor. Now back to Akinwale. Akinwale dances around towards the elbow, kicks it into the corner. Firing a three is Taylor. That one is good. Latimer Taylor Jr. for three. He's in the scorer's column for the first time tonight. Now Graham past half court, goes right at the block, loses the ball. This one will go out of play. Last touch by Graham. Kadlubowski and the Knights can't believe it. Old Westbury can't believe there wasn't a charge. And so a whole lot going on. The call, on the floor is that no foul, just what I believe would be scored as a blocked shot. And so now Old Westbury operating with a 14-point lead. It's Akinwale for Thomas, back for Akinwale. Akinwale steps into it, now steps it around the elbow, kicks it outside for Minton, Minton for Taylor. Taylor takes a couple of steps, now steps back, mid-range jump shot, rims in and out. Nicely done from Kawasi, as that one will go out of play on a foul. But Kawasi, to quote the great Creedence Clearwater Revival, came out of the sky. Grabbed that one off the glass. This one will be the sixth foul for Mount St. Mary, and will, in fact, put Old Westbury at the charity stripe. Coach Kadlubowski is in distress over something. Kadlubowski signaling for replay review. We'll see if they can actually get a challenge. Kadlubowski, ever the debater, and he has my utmost respect for that. But either way, the referee is uninterested in what coach has to say, and it'll be two free throws for Stefan Kawasi. Misses the first. Kawasi's second, misses them both. So Mount St. Mary catches a bit of a break. Now it is Graham that left it for Egan. Old Westbury has fallen out of the full court press. Egan steps back, picks up his dribble, now got it for Walsh. Walsh quickly doubled, left it for Rivera, who kicks it to Egan. Egan over to the far wing. Good pass for Graham. His three-pointer won't go. Rebound at Kawasi. Kawasi will leave it for Akinwale. And now Old Westbury looks to continue to add to this ever-growing lead as Akinwale leaves it for Mitten. Mitten goes up over the top for Kawasi. Thomas into the corner. His three-pointer rims in and out. That one won't go as Walsh and Kawasi end up on the ground. As the foul will go against Kawasi. And so with 1:03, the Mount St. Mary Knights will have an inbound play right under the basket. Graham just waiting for the green light. Now Old West has fallen back into that full court press. Surely they heard me mention it up here in the broadcast booth. Thomas guarding the inbound, the ball goes to Rivera. Right there is Akinwale. Now back for Graham. Graham crosses over. Egan sets a screen on Thomas. Graham now past half court unharmed. Now it's Jeremino back up top for Egan. Egan now for, this is Rivera using his right. Now picks up his dribble, kicks it across, got it to Graham. Graham puts the moves on Kawasi, now stops. Thought about the mid-range jump shot. Now it's Egan from right around the free throw line. Takes a pound dribble, left that one a little too strong. Akinwale grabs the rebound, goes behind his back, gets past Graham. Now kicked into the corner, that pass deflected. Taylor into the corner, kicks it up top. Mitten over Walsh, that one is good. Josh Mitten the three, he's now 3 for 3. Old Westbury 7 for 15 from beyond the arc. That's around 45%, which is incredibly good from downtown. As a whistle and a foul, this one I assume will be against Christian Thomas. Now they will say this one goes against an Old Westbury Panther one way or another as Lynch comes into the contest. 16 seconds left to go in this first half. 43-26 your score, or Mount St. Mary has just fallen a step behind in these last 7 or so minutes of the first half, which unfortunately has been a trend all year. Is now as Rivera past half court. Mount St. Mary likely just to hold it for the last shot of the half. Rivera now gets it to Egan. Egan works on Mitten. Ball goes back to Rivera, getting a hand on it, Akinwale. And so now with 4.7, Mount St. Mary will have another inbound play. We'll see what Coach Kadlubowski has drawn up right before we head to the break. So Rivera has to be wary of the 5 seconds. Got it into Egan, who tried to get it back to Rivera. Manages to retain possession. Fires a long three-pointer. That one well short. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that is how the first half will end. Old Westbury currently in the driver's seat. Your score, 43-26. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I am Lucas Stackpole bringing you some Skyline Conference action. We will be right back in 15 minutes for the second half. And so, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Kaplan Center. I am Lucas Stackpole on what is a frigid Saturday afternoon, currently 16 degrees outside. Too dang cold. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now joining us, your score at the end of the first half was Old Westbury 43 at Mount St. Mary 26. And really, the first half, you can break it down into a tale of two halves. Halves within a half, if you will. At the 11:05 mark in the first half, your score was 19-19. And from that specific point on to now, Old Westbury has been on a 24-7 run. Mount St. Mary just kind of faltered out. They kind of lost a step. They didn't score in the last 2.5 minutes of the first half as Rivera goes right inside. Can't get it to go. Egan right there on the cleanup. And so the 2.5-minute scoring drought that ended the first half is quickly disposed of. And Mount St. Mary just ended the half 1 of 7 from the field and 1 for 15 from downtown. A couple of tough trends in the wrong direction for the home side. A big basket there undoes some of that as it's a long three from King Jr. And you bet, Jermaine King Jr., a triple, and Old Westbury just continues to terrorize Mount St. Mary from downtown. That three-pointer from King now puts the Panthers at 8 of 16 from deep. As now Walsh cuts inside, gets it to go off the glass, but Old Westbury 8 of 16 from downtown. 50% chance to make a three-pointer is absolutely absurd. As now it is King past half court, got it to Akinwale. Akinwale for Thomas, back to Akinwale. Now across the floor, it's King. King, a couple of dribbles, now gets it to Akinwale. Akinwale across the floor for King, cuts now inside the perimeter, goes right at the basket, got it to go. Jermaine King, another tough finish. King now, he's at 5. As it's Rivera, now up top, got it to Egan. Egan puts it on the ground, waits for any open man, will kick it into the corner now for Graham. Egan sets a screen, now backs off. He has a little trouble with it, and it will go out of play, last touched by J.P. Egan. So now Old Westbury will just look to add to what is already their biggest lead of the night. And the lead now is 18. As Akinwale forced to get rid of it, passes it way up ahead. Ofori was there, nicely done by Gemmel to get both hands on that pass. Old Westbury lucky to maintain possession. As now it's Akinwale bouncing back outside the three-point line. He'll direct a little bit of traffic as getting into the corner is Balta. The ball will head that way. Balta back up top for Akinwale. Across the floor now it's Thomas from the elbow. It hits. Christian Thomas leads all scorers with 17. He's 7-11, or 7 for 11 from downtown. 7-11, the gas station. I could go for that right about now. As now we have a timeout from Cad Lebowski. He wastes no time at taking a timeout fresh off half. And so with your score at 50-30 in favor of the visitors, ladies and gentlemen, we will take a brief step aside. And so it is Rascal Flats escorting us in from that timeout back to basketball action. Your score, if you're just now joining us, Old Westbury 50, Mount St. Mary 30, 18:02 left to go in the second half. The Knights will look to cut into this 20-point deficit that has befallen them. As Rivera on the inbound, he'll get it to Graham. Graham back across the floor for Rivera. A light full-court press from Old Westbury that's been a theme most of the game. As Graham forced to pick up his dribble, he kicks it to Egan. Egan goes behind his back. Walsh in the corner for three, and it's good. Some flashy ball movement from Mount St. Mary results in a triple, and if you're going to cut into a large deficit, that is the perfect way to do it. As now Akinwale past half court up ahead for Ofori. Ofori across the floor for King. King stops, now cuts outside the free throw line. Got it to Ofori, who got it back to King. King does a little dance, bounces back outside the three-point line. Jermaine King Jr. looking to set up some traffic. Now goes right at Matthew Walsh at the block, leaves it underneath for Thomas. Thomas goes right at Walsh, and Walsh will draw a charge. Nicely done there from Matthew Walsh, forcing the offensive foul. And so now off the timeout, Mount St. Mary starts to put one foot in front of the other. Thomas and Akinwale right there for Old Westbury on the inbound. The full court press, again, remains a persistent theme. As Graham now looks for the open target, will kick it for Egan. Egan now goes up ahead for Rivera. Mount St. Mary past half court without much issue. Now a bounce pass for Gemmel. That shot blocked by Balta. But they'll say this is a foul. Ajit Balta can't believe he got whistled for a foul. And again, ladies and gentlemen, the referee's not always right, but they're never wrong. But I do think Balta does have a case here. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, the ruling on the floor is that it is a shooting foul, so Connor Gemmel will get 2 chances at the charity stripe. The first one off the back iron, takes a bounce, and settles home. So Gemmel this season, a frequent starter in this lineup Coach Kadlubowski so often rules out, making his 16th start in what is now 19 games. Gemmel this season, 78% from the line, just 7 of 9 coming into today, misses the second. And so the lead remains at 16. Akinwale for Balta up top, right underneath for Ofori. Ofori from the block, can't get it to go. But there will be a foul. We'll see who this one is on. This one going against the aforementioned Connor Gemmel. So the referees will say this is not a shooting foul. So Old Westbury now 21 seconds on the shot clock. They'll get a chance to inbound it from right underneath the basket. The ball goes up top for Ofori. Ofori into the corner, tried to get it to King. Nice defense there from Rivera. Tried to throw it off of tried to throw it off King. Missed King, but Egan was right there to grab the pass anyway. So all's well that ends well as Matthew Walsh tries to drive to the basket, can't get it to go, but there is a foul on the floor. And Coach Kadlubowski, I believe, wants a foul in the act of shooting. The call as it stands is a foul on the floor. So Kadlubowski has been in the referee's ear all night. Again, one of his most admirable traits, and for the most part, he's had a reasonable argument for everything he is trying to argue. So, of course, Coach Kadlubowski knows when to pick his battles. So far, I think he's picked everyone correctly. But again, the plea falls on deaf ears. As Graham forced to baseball pass it down court, Walsh, untouched, now crosses half court, uses a screen from Egan. Now try to get into the corner, it's Graham. Graham across the floor, Egan on the wing, fires the long three-pointer. That one well off. Gemmel had a hand on it, couldn't bring it down. It's Graham coming down with it. Now Walsh a three. That one won't go. Brought out of the air by Christian Thomas, and the Mount St. Mary possession stops here. Thomas now up ahead for Akinwale, into the corner for King. Now back towards the wing for Akinwale, working on Rivera. Akinwale cuts inside, leaves it for Ofori, now gets it to Thomas. Thomas uses his right, cuts towards the top of the key. Now got it to Ofori, cuts towards the elbow. He'll lose the ball, pick it right back up. Under 10 on the shot clock. Ofori for Thomas. Thomas into the corner. Akinwale knocks it down. Some excellent ball movement from the Panthers. They have moved the ball well all night, and they continue just to shoot the lights out. Now 9 for 17 is Graham's three. That one won't go. Rebounded by Balta. Balta up ahead for King. The offensive onslaught just continues for Old Westbury. They've scored from the field on 5 of their last 6 possessions as Balta can't get that one to go. That one will go out of play. Last touch by Ofori. He came flying in to attempt the rebound. Is now a trio of subs for the home side. It's Lynch, Jeremino, and Matt Monaco all checking back in for the home team. And Old Westbury, 5 of their last 7 now from the field. The three-pointers, they're now 5 of their last 6. So the offensive explosion that really kick-started at the 11:05 mark of the first half. Old Westbury has yet to come down from that, as now it's Walsh in the corner. Good look for 3. That one is good. A nice answer there from Matthew Walsh. Mount St. Mary gets those 3 points right back as Balta will leave it for King. King across the floor for Akinwale. Old Westbury now wisely gets past half court. The ball bounced into the corner for Thomas. Thomas wastes no time getting it back to Akinwale. And the ball movement for Old Westbury just continues to impress here this afternoon. Now Matthew Walsh works his way past half court, bounces off the screen from Jeremino, now inside, left it for Monaco, tried to go up and under, that one rejected by Ofori. Now King gets it to Ofori, now swings up ahead for Akinwale. Akinwale all the way up ahead for Balta. Now the Panthers look to turn defense into offense. Across the floor, it's Thomas, catch and shoot for three. That one too strong, and a rare miss as Thomas nearly grabbed his own rebound. Thomas today leads all scorers with 17 as Lynch will try a three. That one short off the front rim. That ball changes hands a couple of times. Akinwale lays out. Lynch gets theirs first. Excellent hustle play from Liam Lynch. As now it is Walsh running the baseline. Goes right at King. Up and under and in. Excellent hustle play from Liam Lynch. Turns into 2 points for the home side. The lead now down to 16. The ball goes to Thomas. Across for King. Justin Rivera steps up on defense for the Mount. King directs a little bit of traffic. Rivera backs off. Matthew Walsh waits for King. Now across the floor, it's Akinwale. Back to King. Now it's Lynch on defense. King calls for a screen. Now sets up from the elbow. Can't get it to go. Ofori on the rebound. Misses his follow-up, but will draw a foul. So Joel Ofori now heads to the free throw line. His first trip tonight. So Joel Ofori, the only man on the roster to start all 20 games. Currently second on the team in scoring, 13.1 points a contest as Ofori's first free throw rims out. As Josh Minton comes back in for the home side, that's Anthony Marziotti, and Daniel Hersner coming back in for Mount St. Mary. So back to the free throw shooter, Joel Ofori, 45 of 75 from the stripe coming into today. That is exactly 60%. So not eye-popping numbers, but certainly a respectable 60%. As Ofori's second one rims out, 0 for 2. And a rare, fruitless possession this afternoon for Old Westbury. Hersner puts the moves on, uses a screen from Jeremino, now forced to pick up his dribble, goes right underneath for Jeremino, goes right up and over Akinwale. Jeremino using that height difference to his advantage, gets it to go off the glass, wanted a foul, wouldn't get one. So now King past half court. Stops at the perimeter, kicks it into the corner for Minton. Good closeout from Monaco. Ball goes up top for Akinwale, now for King. Fires a three. That one a little too strong. Rebounded by Ofori. Ofori now loses it. Nicely done by Marziotti to knock that one out underneath. And so Old Westbury will not get a second chance. Now it is Lynch going right inside the paint, loses the ball, falls on his own loss. I assume this will be a jump ball. The referees quickly whistle the play dead. It will be a jump ball. The possession arrow favors the visitors. I believe that's the indication on the floor. Yes, it is. So Josh Minott is an NBA player. Josh Minton is the inbounder here this afternoon. Now the ball goes back to Minton. Past half court, gets past Hersner. Mount St. Mary sets up in that familiar 3-2 zone. As now it is King. King goes right into the paint for Ofori. Ofori steps back, now fires. That one won't go. Looks like somebody may have gotten a hand in there as we have a foul on the floor. This one against Liam Lynch. Lynch not happy, but the referees, of course, the word is law as Stefan Kawasi comes back in. And so, Old Westbury, that's Coach Bernard Tomlin on his bench. He'll take a 30-second timeout, the first timeout of the half for the Panthers. And so, ladies and gentlemen, with 12:53 left to go here this afternoon, your score as it stands, Old Westbury 55, Mount St. Mary 41. And we'll be right back just after this. so, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be Lana Del Rey ushering us in from that timeout. An interesting selection on the Ox from the scorer's table, but I'm not complaining. The inbound now goes to Kawasi. Kawasi for Minton. Up top now for Akinwale. Akinwale kicks it to Kawasi, gets it up top. Minton fires a three. That shot blocked by Hersner. Minton comes down with it, puts it up again, gets it to go on the second chance. The floater from Josh Minton. And the lead back up to 16. An excellent play there from Daniel Hersner to get the block. Just the ball ended up in the one place where it couldn't, as Marziotti will try a three. That one too strong. Rebounded Kawasi. He'll leave it with Jermaine King Jr. King now the ball carrier. Past half court. Cuts inside the perimeter. Now gives it for Kawasi. Kawasi back outside. Akinwale loses it. Again, good defense from Hersner along the perimeter, but wide open underneath the basket is Christian Thomas. He moves so well off of the ball. He increases his already game-high total of 19. Jeremino, a shot fake, goes right at Kawasi, now cuts inside. The shot won't count. This will be a foul on the floor. So Green 14 busted for the foul on the floor. As Marziotti, the inbounder, sets up the offense. The whistle is blown. Now everything is fair game. Goes up top now for Jeremino. Jeremino will leave it for Monaco. Leaves it now for Hersner on the far end of your screen. Now up top, Jeremino fires away. That one is good. Big shot there from Jeremino, 59-44. Now your score, Mount St. Mary has managed to keep pace. The deficit at its highest was 20. Mount St. Mary has managed to keep it right around 15. But with 11.5 to play, eventually Mount St. Mary's going to have to find a way to cut into the deficit as Kawasi from the baseline now kicks it all the way up top. It's King. King now leaves it for Akinwale. Akinwale goes right at Hersner, up and over, left that one a little bit short. Jeremino on the rebound. A good defensive possession there from the Mount. The ball goes across the floor. Liam Lynch was there. Thought about what he was going to do with the ball before actually getting the ball. A rare, just flat-out mistake there from Mount St. Mary. And so a possession that looked promising, considering it was the result of a defensive stop. That one ultimately squandered. And so now Old Westbury looks to turn defense into offense. Jermaine King Jr. past half court. Waiting for him is Hersner. He's done an excellent job guarding the perimeter so far this afternoon. Setting a screen is Kawasi. King uses it wisely, stops it around the elbow, manages to create a good look from mid-range and hits. Jermaine King picks up points number 6 and 7, the internet's two favorite numbers. Jermaine King also tied for two other people for the lead in assists today. Thomas, King Jr., and Akinwale all have 4. As it's Graham forced to pick up his dribble, he'll kick it across the floor. Now it's Lynch. Lynch from the free throw line has that one poke checked, managed to keep it alive, and then throws that one towards the Knights sideline. So the Old Westbury pressure on defense continues to be astounding as J.P. Egan and Connor Gemmel have checked back in. And Jeremino and Hersner come off. And so now Akinwale guarded by Walsh in the half-court set. The ball goes now to King. Setting a screen is Kawasi. King now cuts inside, picks up his dribble, kicks it outside the perimeter for Akinwale. Minton, catch and shoot, fires. That one won't go. Getting a hand on it was Kawasi, but he was unable to bring it down. It will be last touched by big number 14, the 6'8" freshman representing the Tar Heel State from Charlotte, North Carolina. One of the 2 members of the Queen City, Latimer Taylor Jr. being the other. As now it is Rivera, he'll try a three-pointer. That one won't go. I believe Charlotte is the Queen City. It's either Charlotte or Cincinnati. I really hope it's Charlotte for the sake of being correct. As Minton from the baseline fires a pull-up jump shot and got it. Josh Minton just continues to impress. Minton off the bench tonight has 14. So the Queen City is Charlotte. I was correct, ladies and gentlemen. I do know my American geography. It's always been a party trick of mine as Gemmel kicks it outside the perimeter. Egan up top. Graham now into the corner. Rivera catch and shoot 3. That one is good. Beautiful ball movement from the Knights. Results in 3 points for Justin Rivera. And so, Charlotte, North Carolina, if you're in The mood for a history lesson, even if you weren't, you are now. Charlotte, North Carolina is nicknamed the Queen City in honor of Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, the wife of King George III of Great Britain, founded in 1768. So, ladies and gentlemen, the more you know, knowledge is power, to quote the great Schoolhouse Rock. As it's Akinwale going right at the basket, can't get it to go. We'll have a whistle and a foul. We'll see if the referees say this is on the floor in the act of shooting. Everybody appears to set up like it's a shooting foul. And so it will be. So Amole Akinwale tonight, 10 points, 4 of 9 shooting. First trip to the free throw line. Akinwale's first, got it to go. So Amole Akinwale has started in now 19 of 20 games this season, 77% from the free throw line, 36 of 47 coming into today. Knocked down his first, looks to knock down his second. Got it. So Matthew Walsh directing a little bit of traffic. Old Westbury in that sort of light full court press we've seen from them all day as Egan quickly gets it back to Walsh. Walsh now all the way up ahead for Graham. Graham into the corner, good shot fake, got Thomas to jump. Now sets up a mid-range jump shot and connects. Brandon Graham, a nifty shot fake, used that to create a little bit of an opportunity for himself. Got that one to go. The lead now down to 16. 65-49 your score. Matthew Walsh forces a loose ball, picks it up, now goes right at the basket, rejected by Kawasi, but we have a foul. So Kawasi jumping out of the gym to pin that one to the backboard. They will say this is a foul. Coach Bernard Tomlin on the Old West sideline looks less than impressed, but no serious objection to the foul call. But at the very least, an impressive display of athleticism as Walsh's first free throw is good. Walsh's second, can't get it to go. Rebound Kawasi. He'll kick it up ahead for Minton. Minton now leaves it for Jermaine King. And Old Westbury gets back to work. King cuts right inside it around the elbow, now stops it around the block, kicks it outside the perimeter. It's Akinwale up top for Minton. Minton across the floor for Thomas. Thomas back to Minton, acted like he was going to shoot, now bounces outside the three-point line for Akinwale, inside for Kawasi, back up top for Minton, now underneath for Thomas. Goes right at Jeremino. That shot rejected by Jeremino. He takes a hard fall. And now he gets back. Excellent defense there from Rob Jeremino, laying it all out there, literally. Unfortunately, Mount St. Mary unable to come away with a basket to show for it. But the Mount St. Mary senior flashes a thumbs up to the sideline as Minton fires a three. He continues to just punish Mount St. Mary from beyond the arc. Minton tonight, 4 of 6 from 3. Old Westbury is a team, 10 of 22. And so Coach Gadlabowski will take a timeout. This will be a full timeout. And so, ladies and gentlemen, your score heading into this brief break, 68-50 in favor of the visiting side. And so, ladies and gentlemen, 50 Cent ushers us in from that timeout. Old Westbury takes the floor, Mount St. Mary shortly after. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I had a little bit of downtime in this timeout, as I usually do up here in my broadcast booth. It turns out Cincinnati and Charlotte are both the Queen City, so either way I would have been correct. The most popular nickname being the Queen City for Cincinnati. The Queen City is a shortened version of the Queen of the West, originating in the 1800s, to denote Cincinnati as a major economic and cultural hub of the West at the time. Of course, now when you think of the West, you don't think of Cincinnati. You don't think of Ohio at all, or at least I hope you don't, as Rivera shot a little too strong. And so now you come away from this broadcast with knowledge of basketball and why Charlotte and Cincinnati are both the Queen City, as Graham goes right at the basket, up and in. So now the ball goes across the floor. Akinwale got it off the inbound. He'll go all the way across the floor for King, who goes right back across the floor for Akinwale. Back to King. Shades of a semi-pro. As King works on Walsh, Mount St. Mary just continues to be in that zone. Walsh, the only man in white outside the perimeter. Now a fake double as King kicks it into the corner. Minot fires a three. Minton fires a three and hits again. Josh Minton, 4 of 6 from downtown, now at 19. Him and Christian Thomas both tied for the game lead, but it is worth noting that Minton has taken 5 less shots. As Graham tried to get it underneath for Egan, who was cutting towards the basket, Egan couldn't corral it. The ball goes up ahead. It's Akinwale, guarded by Rivera. Akinwale now leaves it for Thomas, who tries it again. It is Minton. Minton, 6 of 8 from downtown. 5 of 7 from downtown. He's now at 22. Coach Kadlubowski wisely takes a timeout. Josh Minton just wisely taking heat checks. Old Westbury smart enough to feed the hot hand. And so, ladies and gentlemen, your score again at this timeout. Old Westbury 74, Mount St. Mary 52. And so, Eminem ushers us in from that timeout. Shady's back. He asked me to tell you guys. Old Westbury has retaken the floor. Mount St. Mary yet to break the huddle. Old Westbury back up to 50% from 3, and just the more threes they take, the more impressive that 50% clip becomes. Old Westbury now at 12 of 24, exactly 50%. Mount St. Mary comparatively just 7 of 27 from 3, which is good for 25.9%. So just in terms of efficiency, Old Westbury has made 5 more three-pointers on 3 less shots. And unfortunately for the home side, the scoreboard reflects that. With 6:18 left to play here in this second half, Old Westbury currently holds a 22-point lead over the home side, 74-52 your score. As now it's Walsh, ball fake, got it to Rivera. Rivera dancing in the corner, bounce pass for Egan from mid-range is good. Shades of Sean Livingston from J.P. Egan, remarkably consistent from mid-range this afternoon. The ball goes all the way up ahead for Minton, and the way he's shooting, why not? Minton goes right at the block, he'll lose the ball. This is a foul. Egan can't believe it. I think Egan does have an argument, as Egan whistled for a technical foul. The referees have had enough. And really now Josh Minton at the free throw line. That's the only way to stop him. Minton tonight, 25 points, 9 of 11 from the field, 6 of 8 from downtown, 1 of 1 at the free throw line. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, just to make a long story short, Minton this afternoon cannot be stopped as the first free throw goes down. So Josh Minton, again, an NBA player, or Josh Minton right here, shooting free throws. The first one goes, the second one goes, and Old Westbury will get to keep the ball in accordance with the technical foul rules. And Josh Minot plays for the Boston Celtics. But Josh Minton tonight, might as well have him in Boston. An incredible game he's having. He's up to 27, now far and away the leading scorer. Christian Thomas been at 19 for most of the second half, as now Minton makes another free throw. And so, Minton taking the technical free throws on top of the free throws he was originally supposed to take. And Minton goes a perfect 4 for 4. Not much he can do wrong so far this afternoon, now up to 28. As Graham across the floor for Walsh goes right at the elbow, it's Egan. Egan underneath for Gemmel. Gemmel back to Egan. Egan triple teamed in the paint, kicks it into the corner. Walsh, a wide open look, he got it. Matthew Walsh, a big-time triple. He's tied for the leading scorer for this Mount St. Mary team. Him and Egan both have 15. As now Kawasi goes right underneath for Thomas. Thomas up and over. Graham can't get it to go. Grabs his own rebound. Now gets a foul. Graham can't believe it. I'm surprised it took the referees that long to blow the whistle, as there was a sea of bodies down underneath. And so now more free throws for Old Westbury. They're now in the bonus. So Thomas looking to get back in the scoring column, knocks down his first free throw. 1 of 1 at the line this afternoon, now 2 of 2. He'll try a second. Left that one short. Gemmel almost got a hand on it. I think it was Kawasi getting a hand on it. Nicely done from Walsh to keep that one alive. Now Egan pushing the floor. Behind the back went for Graham. Graham couldn't come down with it, but it will be last touched by Kawasi, so Mount St. Mary will keep it. As now Graham gets it up ahead for Walsh. Walsh using his left, picks up his dribble, kicks it for Egan. Good look for 3, fires away, he got it. Egan continues his impressive night, now 8 of 12 from the field. He's up to 18 points. As Kawasi guarded tightly by Egan. Old Westbury moving in the wrong direction, and that'll be an 8-second violation, or not, as I believe there was a bit of a delay with the shot clock. So Old Westbury may have caught a bit of a break, as the college level, I think it is 10 seconds to get it past half court. The shot clock frozen in time says 7. We'll see how the referees want to handle this, as there's much deliberation in front of the scorer's table, the bottom of your screen. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I believe the referees will take a look at this. We'll see if Old Westbury got the ball past half court in time. And so, while the referees head to the booth to review this one, ladies and gentlemen, we will take a brief step aside. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are back from that replay review. The appropriate ruling is that now 23 seconds on the shot clock. Old Westbury now past half court. Now Rivera up ahead on the steal. Walsh goes to the basket, lays it up and in. And so the situation that just unfolded in front of us as Minton stretches the floor for Old Westbury is that Old Westbury had a tough time getting the ball past half court as there's a foul on the floor. But Old Westbury not being able to get the ball past half court, they were slightly bailed out by the fact that the shot clock wasn't running as it should have been. And so the referees discovered that they had taken 7 seconds off of the shot clock and appropriately awarded Old Westbury an inbound play. And now here a foul on the floor means free throws. As Akinwale knocks down the first. Of course, bonus free throws are 1 and 1. You make your first, you earn a right to take a second. Egan a three-pointer in transition, he got it. J.P. Egan have an afternoon. He has been a bright spot for this Mount St. Mary team. He's now up to 21 as there's a whistle and a foul. This one on Walsh. The fans don't love it. Coach Kadlubowski, no objection. The referee and Walsh now exchanging amicable words, I should say. Certainly no drama on the floor. As either way, Old Westbury back to the free throw line. A trend lately as Jermaine King Jr. knocks down the first. His first free throws tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, 4.5 minutes to play. Your score, Old Westbury 80, Mount St. Mary 65. If this score holds up, Mount St. Mary will fall to 0-10, and the unfortunate losing streak just continues to grow. Old Westbury would move to 4-6 as Rivera goes up and over Kawasi. An athletic ability just to get the shot off. Unfortunately, could not get it to go down. And now Graham for Egan. Egan across the floor. Now Rivera. He'll try a three-pointer. That one is good. Ends up on the ground. No whistle. But Justin Rivera knocks down the tough triple. Working it with it now was King Jr. Up ahead now for Thomas. Back to King. King now goes right past Walsh. Floater from just in front of the free throw line. Left that one well short. Rivera grabs that one out of the air. Now pushes the floor in favor of the home side. Three-pointer in transition. Fires short off the front rim. Getting a hit on it is Kawasi. Rivera knocks it down. He took a hit in the back. Now falls. This one will be a foul on the floor, but Mount St. Mary does get to hang on to it. And so this one does end up being a foul on the floor. I'm waiting to see if Mount St. Mary has put into the bonus. No, they are not yet. 16 fouls for Old West. As now up ahead goes Graham. Graham for Gemmel. Now Egan, a long three-pointer. He's been hot. That one won't go. Bounces up and over the backboard out of play. But J.P. Egan, 21 points, 9 of 13 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. Why would you not want him taking that shot? Especially now, down 13 with 3:45 to go. You have to find a way just to score as fast as possible. As Akinwale across the floor, Egan has been everywhere. He got a hand on that one. Now Akinwale tried to get past Graham. Graham draws the foul. Coach Kadlubowski not pleased that his guys are fouling. Of course, Old West now in the double bonus as Mount St. Mary hits their 10th foul. And now the double bonus for the folks at home ensures that regardless of foul and regardless of manner of foul, Old Westbury guaranteed 2 free throws. Akinwale's first left short. So Mole Akinwale this afternoon, he's got 12 points. 2 of 4 from the free throw line. Akinwale, his second, got that one to go. So manages to go 50% at the line. Old West goes up 14. And so now it is Graham. Across the floor, now it is Walsh. Walsh got it to Rivera. Rivera, solid look from deep. That one won't go off the back iron. High arcing rebound. Kawasi corrals it. Graham and Egan both relentless. That one will go out of play. Last touch by Kawasi. So Mount St. Mary, an excellent double team and a fresh 20 seconds on the shot clock. As Graham goes underneath, tried to get it to Gemmel. Kawasi on the takeaway, now a foul. We'll see whose this one is on. This one again on Brendan Graham, and so another 2 free throws for Old Westbury. And again, with Old West in the double bonus, Mount St. Mary just only shooting themselves in the foot. Guaranteed 2 free throws for the 6'8" freshman. Stefan Kawasi representing one of 2 Queen cities. As his first rims in and out. Kawasi's second. That one does go down. The whistle is blown. Coming back into the game as a sub, Joel Afori. So now Walsh waiting to pick up the ball, now does. The clock just now begins to run as Walsh dances around the wing, leaves it for Gemmel. Catch and shoot 3. That one goes down. Connor Gemmel knocks down the triple. The lead slims to 12. Coach Kadlubowski will take a timeout. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Mount St. Mary back up off the mat here down the stretch with 3:11 left to play. Your score 83-71. And so, while both teams discuss strategy, we will take a brief step aside. Mary 71. And so Old Westbury has been comfortably in the driver's seat for most of the game by this point, but Mount St. Mary does show some life as Egan on the steal. Got it to Rivera, who got it to Walsh. Walsh leaves it short, goes back up with it, got it to go. Somehow no foul was called. Matthew Walsh with a tough basket, and now with 3 minutes left to play, Mount St. Mary has slimmed the deficit to 10. Ofori up ahead for Akinwale. He got it to go. Good answer there from Old West. Graham now stretches the floor. Mount St. Mary looks to continue to play fast. Graham will lose it, takes a hard fall. This one out of play, last touched by Old Westbury. Minton thought otherwise, but the referees politely disagree. So with 2:45 left to go, Old Westbury now leads by 12. And 12 points, not an ideal deficit, but for a momentum-based sport such as basketball, you can see 12-point leads disappear in a matter of minutes. And right now, a matter of minutes is all we're dealing with as Walsh goes up and over and one. Matthew Walsh goes right at Josh Minton. Got it to go, and now with this free throw, the Knights have a chance to cut this deficit back to single digits. And so Mount St. Mary has been flying around down the stretch. And now playing against the Panthers and the clock, the Knights have gone and risen to the task. Walsh knocks down the free throw. The lead is 9. Mount St. Mary now in a full court press. Minot past half court, now stops it around the block. Mount St. Mary doubles. Graham got a hand in there. The ball somehow finds its way to Akinwale. And now it's King guarded by Walsh. Walsh will back off. King operating out of the C and MSMC. 15 left on the 30. King dribbles between his legs, now goes to his shoes for extra grip, under 10. King still working on Walsh, has yet to move the ball. King it around the elbow, into the corner for Akinwale. Guarded by Graham, spins, fires, got it, wow. Huge shot there from Amole Akinwale. Old Westbury back up 11. As now Walsh fights for it under the rim, that layup won't go. Joel Ofori can't get it. Now Gemmel off the glass, he missed. Rivera somehow grabs Mount St. Mary's own rebound. Third chance as that pass picked off by Akinwale. And now Old West can finally take a deep breath. What a sequence that was. As now Ofori from around the elbow into the corner. Minot, is this the dagger? No good. Rebounded by Ofori up top for King as Thomas and Gemmel both end up on the ground. 15 left on the 30. Old West in no rush to get a shot off. Now Rivera fouls. With 12 left on the shot clock, a bit of an interesting strategy there. If you were going to foul, why not do it immediately? There, of course, is also the possibility that the foul wasn't intentional as we have a whistle. As now, I believe, a technical. So a technical foul on Gemmel. And any evidence that Mount St. Mary was ever back in this game quickly disposed of just as fast as it came about. Your score with 1:22 left to go. Old Westbury 87, Mount St. Mary 76. And so now with both teams in their respective huddles, Coach Kadlubowski talking it over with the referees, we'll see how soon it takes us to get back to game action. And so executive decision from the broadcast booth. we will not take a brief step aside as that conversation wrapped up a lot sooner than I thought it was going to. As Stefan Kowalski, or Kowasi, no K, stands in the front of the scorer's table. He'll look to come back in. The buzzer sounds. He's checked back in. The fifth now Panther back on the court. And so it got exciting for a little bit down the stretch, but now the life has been sucked out of the Kaplan Center. You can hear a pin drop in here as King sets up for his first free throw, knocks it down. So King 1 for 1 at this trip. Overall this afternoon, he's 2 of 2. His second, that one off the front rim and in. So Walsh will roll it up ahead for Brandon Graham. 1:22 to play. Graham now gets a hand on it. The clock can officially run. As Graham for Walsh, Walsh for Egan. Fires a wide open three. That one won't go. Christian Thomas, the leaping rebound. He'll leave it with King. Mount St. Mary in the full court press. Brandon Graham right there on defense for the home side. King up ahead. That pass picked off by Jeremino. Jeremino running the floor. Spin move. Shot fake. Got it to go. Rob Jeremino dipping into the bag a little bit there. A nifty 2 points. Minton loses the ball. Somehow manages to come away with it. Rivera keeps it alive. Excellent defense from Mount St. Mary as Jermaine King lucky enough to receive that for Old West. King does a dance, stops it around the free throw line, a whistle and a foul, this one against Justin Rivera. And so King will head right back to the free throw line, fresh off of a 2 for 2 trip. King, 11 points tonight, this afternoon, 3 of 7 from the field, 1 of 3 from downtown, perfect at the stripe, 4 of 4. His first on the most recent time around, got it to go. So now King, his second, got it to go. Old West now up to 91. As now Lynch passed half court, he's checked back in for the Mount. Lynch will fire a three-pointer, takes a hard fall, no whistle. That shot won't go, rebounded by Akinwale. Akinwale goes right past Walsh, now goes right at Lynch. That shot looked like it could have been blocked. The referees will say it as a foul. And so, as has become a trend down the stretch, Old Westbury heads to the free throw line. Amole Akinwale, the 6'1" international product, heads to the free throw line, representing Barcelona, Spain. And so Akinwale, his first off the front rim, bounces along the back iron. Shooter's touch there from Akinwale. 17 points this afternoon on 6 of 11 shooting, 3 of 5 from the stripe today. Akinwale, his second, got it to go. Egan, the inbounder, he'll get it for Walsh. Mount St. Mary looking just for one more basket before the buzzer. Walsh crosses over, spins, guarded by King. He'll leave it for Egan, firing a three. That one won't go. As Lynch fouls Minton. I keep making that mistake. Josh Minott, Josh Minton both play basketball for teams that wear green. You can see where I'd get mixed up. So the foul goes against Lynch on the rebound. I could see that one from here, admittedly. And so now 20.4 seconds to go. Josh Minton, again to quote the great Bob Dylan, Josh Minton, when he finishes painting his proverbial masterpiece. Minton, 29 points, 9 of 12 from the field, 6 of 9 from 3, 5 of 5 from the line. So a game-high 29 points from Josh Minton on incredibly efficient shooting on all fronts. 9 of 12 is 75%, 6 of 9, 66%, 67% depending on how you round your decimals. 5 of 5 from the line, 100%, not much math required there. As there's some deliberation now in the replay review, but my best guess is that they're just reviewing the severity of the foul that went against Lynch. Lynch had his hand around Minton's neck, just of course being the pacifist I am, I'm going to assume that was unintentional. And so the referees, I believe, determine that this is a common foul, whatever call they confirmed on the floor was not relayed to the general public. And now I don't think it was a common foul, because should it have been, everybody would be at the free throw line. So Minton, his first, got it to go. He's now up to 30. Minton stays hot, 2 for 2. And so, in accordance with what I would believe to be a technical foul, Old Westbury 2 free throws, and they get to keep the ball. Either a technical or a flagrant or something a leg up above a common foul. And so either way, with 20.4 seconds left to go, the shot clock, of course, is off. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that'll be what takes us to the finish line here this afternoon. Old Westbury moves to 4-6 in conference play, 6-14 overall. Mount St. Mary, the skid, unfortunately continues. They plummet to 2-19. That is 16 straight losses for the home side. So the buzzer officially sounds. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. I am Lucas Stackpole. Once again, your final score this afternoon, the visiting Old Westbury Panthers at 95, your Mount St. Mary Knights 78.